We are live, very good. This architecture, and what does it refer to? It refers to dividing your code logically in present business layer and database layer or tier. And it makes sense to do that because these, again, they can be logically divided in different and as well. The HTML, JavaScript, and some code that creates the UI. What is contained in the business tier and what languages support it? It can be very different, but it is very common actually that Java is, you might find Java in the tier. This is where is going to be the place to create, for example, the prices are going to be set here and different conditions like that. How do we handle certain customers, the product, and so these are all rules that are necessary for us to communicate smoothly between the different tiers. And it is also common that your database structure is going to be a reflection of the business tier. So when we create Android applications next class, that's exactly what we are going to do. And then the database tier, it might contain MySQL or Microsoft SQL Server, and that's where the data goes. And so we package explorer in Eclipse, and we have the source and we have the packages, and they more than one view of available to look at on the computer on these story files. So how our program so far we've been just using this for the most part. We give the name of our project and then we have been using the default. However, we want to now learn how to create our own packages, which is very easy to do. And then we can organize our code according to those packages. And if we want to apply the three-tier architecture I showed you earlier, what we can do is we can create 3 different packages for the code that is related to this particular task. This layer, the database layer, and the UI layer. Now in this case, everything here is happening with Java. That is representing database, or we could have some API to actually get from Java to the database. But whatever the case may be. Okay, so then we're going to have 3 different classes here, as you can see. And then inside the classes, we have the packages. And what I would like to do is, after I show you a few more slides, this time we'll do this differently. I would like you to actually open the finished application and then try to create a diagram for it, and then make changes to it, just to change things up, so you're not always hand coding from scratch. Here is an example in the, I don't know if I can magnify this here, but here is an example of having multiple packages in Eclipse, and we'll do this together as well. It's really very simple. We just have to create the packages. Reflect. If you look on in your folders, you're going to see the same structure and the same organization reflected there. Okay. So this is the class diagram for our line item application that we'll look at. I was hoping you create your own, but I guess I'll show you this here. And it shows how the three classes relate to each other. We need the product. The product class is the template for our product. And then we have the product DB, which is going to, and then we have the line item, which is going to be where we interface with, but also it will interface with the gets and sets from the product. All right. So that's the slide. I'd like to show you how to rename a package, and then I'd like to item application, review it, understand it, and then complete the exercises on page 144.5.1, which is to modify the line item application. All right. So magnify. So let's say I have a new project. You can practice this with me so you can learn how to create packages. So we'll just name this test one. It's not really going to have any code. And we have our source folder. And now, unlike in the past, we want to create our own packages. So you just have to say new package, give it a name. So let's say we're going to create the UI package. The business package. And the package. Okay. Well, just before, is everyone clear why do we even have this package? There's not much to it. It's just a way of organizing your program so that you can have multiple belonging to the same package. So let's do this. Let's go. Let me see where is my, where in, I want to look at my workspace. I'm in one of these two, C users. I want to show you the structure reflected here, C users. Oh, workspace, sorry. Okay, it didn't put it there, it put it somewhere else. No, I did that. We put it here for some reason. Let's see. Well, I'll just redo it real quick and put it in this folder. So I have it on the C drive. Okay, so if you want to, you can do this with me again, but new project. Is everyone comfortable with the workspaces now? So I just switched the workspace, that's all. And now I should be where I want. UI. So how you refactor. I named it BIZ on purpose because I want to show you how to rename it. And the last one was DB. And I want to rename the BIZ. I don't make sense. Business packages here. To do so, I think in Eclipse you're going. So you go to refactor, Alt-Shift-T, and then rename it to business. And sure enough. So now let me go and show you the structure on the desktop. Test one. So here are folders, and as you can see, the folders essentially reflect the package explorer or the other way around. So test one, source, and our folders, and right now there is nothing in them because we didn't add any classes. And if we wanted to add classes, you know how to do this now, right? Add class, and there. Okay. So now I have a class here, and I expect test one. Just maybe to save.
So there's nothing special we need to do to have them interact with each other. It's still.
No, again, all they are just the. Why didn't it update here though? I would expect it to change now because I saved it. I think I must be putting it somewhere else. I have to get out of the magnifier so I can try to make sense of this. Users conference for desktop. Okay. Oh, maybe that's a different desktop. Okay, so that's a different desktop, that's why, I guess. C users conference for desktop. Okay. No, that's weird. I would expect this to update, so I don't know, maybe I need to restart Eclipse. That should update to the refactored name, and that's what should happen, so I don't know why it's not happening. But even if it didn't change the name, again, I just wanted to show you that we have the packages here reflecting the package explorer from Eclipse. That should have changed. What time is it now? Maybe I need to restart Eclipse. I think that's the problem with Eclipse, that should have updated. But that's all there is to packages, so you can use them to organize your programs. Oh, I should mention again, I guess one other thing which I might have mentioned before. It is common, let's say that you're creating your own app, maybe for an Android application that you're going to post, to use the reverse URL notation for package name. Did I tell you about this? Okay, so the reverse URL notation means that you're going to say, for example, in my case, .com.stanimerde. So you reverse your URL, and that's unique, so you can use it in the package name to identify your package for your application. Okay, it's called reverse URL.
So com
dot your website / whatever. Okay. I think that's all I have to say about chapter 5. maybe the next thing to do is to let you play around a little bit with it. I have uploaded the zip version in case you don't have your own in week 4 modules. So is the line item up? So go ahead and download it, please. Run it. Make sure you understand how it works. Ask any questions you might have, and then we will. And then you can proceed with the exercises on page 144. Refresh, maybe I need to refresh. Okay. So in case any of you are wondering, like I was, what happened with that package renaming, it was in a different workspace. So that's why it wasn't shown. Actually, it was in the conference for workspace. So it's in the right place. Yeah. So that's a zip file, and you need to unzip it. I think you have to unzip it and say, right click on it. I don't think, have you tried? You can't import the zip file if it was not zipped up in Eclipse, right?
Not easily.
Right. So we need to, so for this exercise, since I zipped it with 7-zip, you have to unzip it before you import the project. Okay, so let me show this to everyone. The first thing to do is, in order to even get the file, you need to pop out the window. So here is what I mean by that. It's not going to allow you to easily download it unless you click on this little pop-out window here. And now it should allow you to download it. And once you download it, I can show you how to unzip it. But I think that's the problem. It's not really obvious that you have to pop out the view before you can download the file. Okay? Are you guys okay? So can I see you download the file? You pop out the window? So then it should be able to click on the window. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So let's go to this. Out in the right button? Yeah. Okay. Does everyone have 7-zip? Do you guys, can you open zip file?
I opened it last week.
It doesn't open, but it extracts.
No, but she doesn't have the option.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the option. So the problem is, I guess there are so many things going on, and I guess my apologies, but this file is zipped with 7 zip, not with scripts.
This one was not.
Yeah. Okay, so let me, maybe you, would you help Susan? Susan? Yeah. Susan. So I am now.
So funny. Forgive him because he's so good at the rest.
I mean, if you take a class or two or something, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe he'll get very, very accurate. I can't even think of one movie.
Oh,
Never.
Okay, if you have unzipped the file successfully, then you should be working on the exercises on page 151 to practice creating the packages and all this, okay? And when you're done with, if you're done with that, then you can take a little bit of a break. And after the breaks, we'll move on to chapter 6, it looks like.
Oh, just checking.
Okay, guys. You should try to bring your flash drives. It might be easier. I'll just maybe start making. I'll just stop trying to upload to Google altogether, but just bring your flash drives. Is this one working? Myself before you do it on my phone. The refresh is essentially.
That was the one I'm hearing.
So this is what you want.
Never.
It happens, man.
So you can
They're big conversations.
Work with your neighbor.
I'm not carrying on. Like this.
Right, so like I said, work through those exercises, which shouldn't probably take very long, take a break, and then we'll regroup after 2 and move on. Daniel, did your question get answered?
yeah. Okay.
Our screen is so fuzzy, I didn't. Yeah, maybe that's the problem here. Change the resolution as well, I guess it will get better.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like down sizing it on the projector.
Yeah. It's hidden somewhere. Let's see, forgot to. I don't even know anymore where they.
Yeah, I don't even use Windows 10.
Oh, it's advanced. I don't use it to my laptop either, but I found it. It's under advanced settings because it's so advanced to do
Yeah.
that, right? So how about?
It's really pushing the user.
Right, right. That's very funny. Hopefully that's better.
Done with those exercises, but I had a question.
Yeah.
Is the purpose of packages more organizational than functional?
Essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
You got your games. You like that. You don't have to.
I don't remember what she thought.
I think you just want us to look at it.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's essentially the same.
It's kind of warehouse work. I've got to work out.
It's good.
So it's 64. Oh, yeah. Grades are great. Oh, yeah. Like I said, I don't have to use my brain for it's great.
You have to rest after days like this.
Otherwise, I think know where the steps goes.
7 hours is done. Great.
Let's go back Friday on Java. I have no idea.
Oh, come on.
Oh,
Oh, we're gonna have to take that up with down solo. Likes Java.
I think I have.
Yeah, you put it, change that in this, right. Yes.
I got to watch these files. I think they missed something. Like, they should have had.
Like, number. Did you, oh, it's open, yeah, that's one. So do you know how to accomplish three? Or navigate, yeah. So this one, yeah, yeah. So change that. All right, we'll start in a couple minutes.
Oh.
If they're too young, I think whatever school.
It's fighting.
Someone just posted the debugging job, so.
Never watched the show. See, like, they hum the theme song.
It's terrible. And you can handle scary things very well.
So it's all going to the packages?
Yeah, totally.
Very decent.
I wish your mind is doing the right thing, but I think using Unix knowledge is just, you know, we all should do it. We're not in the class, the college, and we're not able to maintain so many different things like.
I'm still, I guess, like, still learning to see how to do this.
I was going back in the corner. Okay, so you.
See, that's what really
creative.
they use.
One of them is, do you know how to
Like, you know, like even ways.
I think so. What do I ITC on the card?
That was really good.
No, that's not, that's your own, that's not my drive, that's your drive, so we need to go over to campus, it's users. Class.
To do it during the day. Go around.
Lights are on.
Lights are on. You gotta tell make sure I'm safe.
Not I wanted to like, okay, this is cover your eyes. And you see the revenue. It's not even a horror movie. It's not even a horror movie. Yeah, if you think.
But it's like but I'm really good at it. It's a movie, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not as scary. And I was freaking. Like, I can just like this. You don't want to take it.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It was something. It was like it was like an action movie or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can I remember where I was? It was just like on the edge of my seat.
Movies like that are usually good when it's like really suspenseful. When it's suspenseful and then like a loud doll jumps out, that is scary.
So I love my plot stories, right? I want to watch the most horrible actors as long as the storyline is somewhat okay. You know what I mean? And I'm entertained. So yesterday, I watched a new show. It's from it's a little TV show, right? But it's really CW-esque, you know, teens and you know,
Did you watch this other show? I can't watch this right now. It's like, what did she call it? She said,
Yes.
Teen girls.
All right, so let's talk about testing and debugging application. And I would like this opportunity, somebody actually just posted on our Facebook page the 5 stages of debugging, which are what, why, how, impossible. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we're moving on to chapter 6. And by the way, your homework is really still about chapter 4, right? I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. It's going to be another practice of creating an application with a couple different classes.
So we only need 2 classes and then the app.
And the main,
and then the
that's right, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between testing and debugging and how to debug an application. And it will be similar to what we did with the previous chapter. We'll go through some slides, I'll give you some pointers, and I think the most efficient way for you to handle this and to learn this is to just do the exercise with a line item and practice debugging using the correct key, hotkeys and commands to make that happen. Okay, so we have a logic error here, sir. We'll talk about it, but maybe somebody already knows.
The math is wrong.
What is your name again?
Eric.
Eric?
Yeah.
So the math is wrong. The math is wrong is a logic error, which is caused by the programmer. We did something wrong, and there is a logic error. It's not the program, it's the logic behind the program. Okay, and actually, can somebody point out what the error is? I didn't really give you time to look at it. Where is the error?
It's just an attitude.
Right, so somebody wanted to say times, but the plus 2, which is easy to do, right?
Plus instead of asterisk.
Plus 2 numbers, right? So they wanted to say times, but they had plus instead. Okay, so what is the difference and what are the goals of testing versus debugging? Well, they're not exactly the same. The testing is more of a outside activity which is going to check to make sure that the application as whole works before it goes into production. Usually in a professional environment, you have a special team of test engineers who do testing. And one of the reasons why is because in the program you become a little bit attached to it, and you think that everything is perfect, so it's hard to be objective about your code. So you might often have somebody, software engineering team that comes from production, and it's more expensive if it breaks in production and then you have to fix it and it becomes a problem. Although things are changing a little bit because now with the frequent releases, that's not as much an issue anymore as it used to be. And also we're seeing a lot more crowdsourcing in terms of testing, so the companies will just put it out and allow the users to test. I also just attended this talk, and I don't know if anybody in the room was there. So this company that we went to talk to, they also, the way they're scheduling their interview is that they want you essentially to participate in their GitHub project, basically before you even get to them, right? So the people they're going to hire, the people who already are participating in the project. And as you can see, you have to have a lot of upfront investment as a side note. I think that's a little bit, well, it doesn't matter what I think, but that's what it is.
They want you to do some work for them first.
Okay, that's right. They want to do a little bit of work for that first, and I think that's becoming more prevalent, right? So that's in the trend.
Good work.
Okay, so this was the testing, and then what is the goal of the debugging? The debugging is an activity that is actually run by the programmer. As you code your program, you debug the code, and that's a different thing than actually trying to break it from the outside. So you debug the code with purpose to find errors as you are actually programming and then fixing them. You're debugging them so you can fix them on the spot. the three phases of testing. Well, testing is a big topic, but generally speaking, you want to check the user interface to make sure that it works correctly. You always want to make sure that the input is correct. And then you want to also check what we call the border conditions, or the conditions where what happens when the user entered an invalid input. Are we handling that properly? There is a lot more. Sometimes, depending on your application, you need to do stress testing, which means you have to make sure that if you have a concurrent environment, you have the capacity, and so it can go on and on from there. But for our purpose, for our programs, you need to, as you program now, keep in mind, before you submit your homework, does my user interface work correctly? Does my program work with a valid input? And we haven't really learned yet, but soon we're going to learn how to handle invalid user input as well. Okay? Now, what kind of errors can occur as we program, compile, or syntax errors, runtime errors, and logic errors? So the syntax error is the easiest one to fix because you will not be able to run your code unless you fix it. So these are great. It's good to have these happen at that time versus later. How about the runtime error? What would be an example of a runtime error? Does anyone know?
There's no squiggly lines in your code, but it errors out when you try to run it.
So yeah, maybe you're able to run it, but then when you run it, it's going to crash. And so some reasons this might happen. Well, sometimes maybe you're trying to get to access some kind of asset that is not available when the JVM puts your code together. That would be an example of a runtime error.
I've seen people closing the scanner and then trying to use the scanner after closing it as a good one.
That's a good one, right? So that's one example. And there is a lot more, but essentially when you can run your program, but then you get an error, that's a runtime error, and these are not good to get. And then perhaps the most challenging errors are the logic errors, because it's not the computer, it's the thinking of your algorithm is wrong, and then that can be a problem, right? I think I sometimes use this example. There was a programming error with those machines that administer I'm not even into medical field, but radiation treatment. Okay, so anyway, there was like a famous case where there was a logic error to the amount of medicine that was administered to the patient that died. I know it's not in the commercial, it's not funny, but it was an example. Right, especially if you're working on high-stake situations, right? So here's some typical examples. Here are some typical examples of errors, and Eclipse will be very helpful in those cases to help out a lot. But for example, missing a semicolon is going to be an example of a syntax error. Closing parenthesis missing. If you have no data type declared here, it's going to be a problem. What data type should you declare, by the way?
String.
String. Okay, very good. So. And then, what is the problem with the improper capitalization? How would we fix that?
Next line.
Next line needs to be small case. Okay, so again, forgetting to put the semicolon at the end of the statement, the parentheses. And I have seen a couple of times this quarter, when you have a while loop, you don't put the semi brace. Okay, not just a while loop, but any kind of block of code. If you're using the curly braces after it, then you don't put the semicolon, right? So the curly braces become part of the statement. Does this make sense? Okay, Norman, does it make sense? Okay. Forgetting the opening or closing braces, forgetting to declare a data type, incorrect case, or misspelling an identifier. Can somebody change my diary while I'm talking? All right. Thank you. Maybe you take one. without. Okay, and so this is an example of a compiled time error. We're just going to get an exception here, and he went, I think he went, clicked. Thank you. And with a runtime error, we get what we call a stack trace, which is very helpful. So these are the methods that were called that lead to the place where the error happened. And where we need to start investigating is the very last line. So line item up, line number 25 is where the error occurred, and that is triggered then a call to parseInt, and then a number format exception. Okay. Because we can try to put an X here. Do you guys try, I guess, try to just figure out what's the problem instead of me explaining it for you. Are you clear why that's a problem? And
Yeah, I think I wanted to hit instead.
you want an X. Okay. And if you're getting the red squiggly lines, generally I don't even try to compile. Thank you very much. We need to decide what is going on. And finally, the same example as before with the logic error. Right? So you can use a print line so to see what is happening. That's very helpful. You would remove these lines later, but if you want to see how your program is doing and what it's doing, a very helpful way to do this is to just add print lines, and then it's going to tell you essentially where you are, what the values are. So that's a very useful thing to do. And also you can use one of the reasons you want to use an IDE is because it comes with a debugger. So it's a very powerful tool. You just have to learn some of the commands. And then you can use a debugger to step through your code, through your methods, and then see the values in your program changing as you progress through the code, and that's a very helpful way to debug. So we can set a breakpoint, and if you can see here, this is a breakpoint, and what it means is that the program is going to stop there instead of finishing execution, so that you can see what's happening in that particular line, for example, and then you can look and see what the values are of the variables. So this is a debugging session in which you will get an opportunity to practice this shortly here. If you start the debugger, you will be able to, if you put a breakpoint here, for example, on line 44, it's going to give you the names of the, no, that's 44, I think it's actually, yeah, it is, okay. I think that's referring to line 44. And it will give you the very useful information of the names of the variables and their values. So you can see when I'm in my code on line 44, what is the value of my, for example, of the this, which is the object. And notice that some of the more complex types have a little arrow that you can click, drop down, open, and see even more information. The total at this point is 27.5, and this is the currency format. So this is how you can use the debugger to help you debug your code. So these are the shortcuts that you need to know in order to use the debugger, or you can use the toolbar, whichever is easier for you. You can start debugging. Step over means that you're going to, sometimes you want to skip, for example, you don't want to debug the Java library methods, because what is the point? You want to skip over those and then get to your own custom code. You can step into your method, for example, and see what it does. Return, you can resume, and then you can terminate your debugging session with Control F2. And again, all these are also available up here. So the call stack window is what I showed you earlier. And again, it's going to give you all the methods that are currently on the stack. And normally you want to start with actually always you start looking at the very last one, which is where the problem happened, where you are, and then you can go up from here. Cliff, would you like to add anything, please?
learn how to use this. Like, this is like probably the most important thing you can do to like save sanity. It basically aligns like everything that's going on. So yeah, if you have any questions, make sure you ask them and get them sorted out, because you will use this every day, all day. I guarantee it.
Which brings me to the other question I ask sometimes. I'm sure I asked it in C#, but what is the activity that the programmer does the most? Is it programming? No, it is debugging. Okay, so let me, I'm going to turn off the recording, and then you can get hands-on practice and ask any question you have. Do you have a question now or not yet? With using the line item application again, and play with it with the exercises on page 163 in the book. If you don't have a book, share it with your neighbor, please. And it will allow you to practice everything that I showed you on the slides. There are 17 steps, 19 steps, but if you finish them, then you can maybe start looking at your homework, or if you're bored, let me know. I'll find something else to do.